Hi everyone. So we are back with another episode of live sessions. This week we have a great guest. Today it's really going to be an interesting discussion. We've got a lot to talk about. Let me just check the list. We're going to be talking about online study a little bit, and especially nowadays, a lot of university students doing things online, doing lectures by Zoom. We're going to talk with somebody who has some experience of that. We're also going to be talking about some of the mistakes that people make in English, some of the practice tips with another teacher. We're going to be talking about some of the great language exams which are out there and which one is right for you and what you should do to get better about that. And we're going to learn about a place in the world where maybe you don't know that much about. So we're going to try and do quite a lot of that when our guest comes, who should be here any second. And again, remember, the aim of these live sessions is to have an interesting conversation, to get somebody interested on the show, not just talking about learning English all the time, talking about a bunch of other stuff as well, mainly to give you guys a little bit of listening practice in English, which should be great. So without further ado, I welcome our great guest today, Farzad. How are you, Farzad?
Hey, thanks. I'm fine. How about you?
Yeah, good. How was your day today?
It was a hectic day. So many
Okay.
classes. And finally I was chilling now. I just was wondering how I can record this live so I can post it on my own page as well.
I'll send you a message about it later. It's really
All
easy.
right, good, great.
Um, so please introduce yourself to everybody.
Yeah, as you said, well, I'm Farzad. I've been teaching for 10 years now. Um,
Hmm.
Ever since I was maybe a 10-year-old, I have always thought that maybe teaching is the best thing that I can do. I mean, teaching English, I really loved it, how you can actually have a great impact, have a positive impact on people's lives. Like, I have had so many students who actually changed majors and became English teachers because they were
Mm.
really inspired. I mean, that felt great to know that that you have helped someone to find something that they love. You know, that's a great feeling. And ever since that
Yeah, I
time,
agree with you.
yeah, that's really great. And I've been teaching mostly TOEFL and IELTS preparation courses.
Great.
And yeah, that's pretty much it.
And what type of age groups do you teach?
Mostly adults,
Right.
18 or maybe older, because working with children and it's really sensitive. You have to be very careful about some things. I hope
Mm.
to be a good teacher for children maybe later, but right now I'm not ready for that.
I think it just requires different skills sometimes
Exactly,
being a
exactly.
teacher for children. I've done both. I teach adults primarily nowadays. I sometimes teach some teenagers, but I had a job in the past where I was teaching 6-year-olds English, and it's just
Fantastic.
completely different skill. It's all about
Exactly.
energy, and it's all about, really trying to get their attention, get their imagination. Where one of the things I like about adults is they're generally already motivated because they, pay their
Exactly.
own money, and they know that if they do this, they have some great goal going forward. Talk to me a little bit about how you got into teaching. What did how did you train to become an English teacher? How did you get any qualification for that? Because, someone like me, about 10 years ago, I decided to become an English teacher. I'd had some experience with it in the past. I think it's a lot easier for somebody who's a native speaker from the UK to get into teaching. How did you get there?
Well, actually, I started learning English when I was 4 years old, and mostly my father was teaching me. And it was somehow by the time I was 18, I could really, I mean, I could speak and talk. It was not a problem. But when I
Mhm.
decided to be a teacher, I actually chose English literature in university. I mean,
Mhm.
the university that I studied was a really good one.
Mhm.
So when I got admitted, I it was an accident. I mean, the way that I got actually into teaching. One of my friends that day, and he asked me to replace him for one session,
Mhm.
and it's not gonna be difficult. So I went to the class, and everybody loved me. And then I
Oh, great.
thought,
Oh, so it wasn't very difficult.
yeah, it wasn't very difficult, and it was very good. I mean, all this, I was 18, and most of the students were older than I. And I had a student in that class. He was 26 years old, and another one was 60 years of age. And I
Oh, wow,
really,
great.
they thought I'm a new classmate, and ever since that time, I haven't stopped teaching even for 1 month.
Oh, that's good. It's like I don't know if you've ever seen the film Catch Me If You Can with
Yeah,
Leonardo DiCaprio, and he pretends to be the teacher when he's the new kid at school.
yeah,
That's quite an
exactly.
interesting one. I also saw on your profile you did something in Arizona State. You did some kind of teaching qualification there. Tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, it was a actually it was a TESOL. I mean, teaching English as a second language to
Yeah.
foreigners and stuff. And I really took the course because I passed all of these courses in university, but they were not native people. I mean, they were all
Hmm.
Iranian people teaching the material prepared by the by actually native ones. But I wanted to see how this thing is going in other countries, like in America, for example, in England, or maybe Canada, for example. So this, as soon as I saw this opportunity to take part in that course in Arizona State University, I thought, yeah, probably I should do it. Not just because, but I don't really care that much about, certificates. I really wanted to learn to have the experience of being taught by a native speaker who
Hmm.
is a great teacher as well. I mean, the professors there were perfect. I mean, everything that they taught me, perfect. And it was a different experience, I guess. Something else, completely different.
Well, I think sometimes when you only learn English in a place like Iran or in one country, it's difficult to find the formality of the language, I think, because you can either learn it in this extremely formal textbook way, which doesn't
Mm,
really sound like how people talk on the street, or
exactly.
there's a flip side to that, I think, where you can learn too many idioms and too much slang that people don't use all the time in daily life as well. So it's probably good to study over there. Because one of the things I wanted to talk about was online study. Excuse me. Because
Mm,
it's such a big thing at the moment, especially in 2020 with all the pandemic and things, and a lot of universities are going online. And I think a lot of people are looking at where am I at in my career? What can I do to develop? What can I do to maybe adapt and change industries? I've got friends who are
mm.
learning how to become web developers, who are working on their language skills. Tell me a little bit about your experience with online study versus classroom study and what tips you would have for anybody.
Mm. Well, um, of course, I've been working here in Iran mostly. And it was about 3 years ago when I started teaching online. And it was something not really unusual in other countries, but in Iran it was pretty
Hmm.
new. I mean, nobody knew about this thing. And ever since the coronavirus happened, people are starting to actually feel like it's not really necessary to go out of their place, out of their houses
Hmm.
for things like this. And the most important challenge about this is that students still believe that classrooms are better than online experiences,
Hmm.
which I believe in some cases this might be true. But when it comes to teaching, I mean learning languages, of course, I don't think that there's much difference. Like it's not something practical. It's only you have to talk and they have to listen and they answer. I believe that the challenge is that the students have not yet accepted this, at least in Iran. I'm not sure about other countries. As soon as they understand that learning online is a thing,
Hmm.
uh, it goes really fast for them. They learn very fast. They're really more comfortable. They understand all the benefits that it provides. That goes faster this way.
Okay, great. One of the things I try to do when I bring guests on is to really give my students some different listening practice, not just about different subjects, but about different accents. as well. Now, I'm sure they'll be very happy this week because your accent is great. I'm sure a lot of learners will be saying, what's your secret? Tell me. So really, please tell everybody a little bit about accent, because I know this is one of your specialities in teaching as well, isn't it?
Yeah, accents are really, people care a lot about accents here in Iran, and like students, they really think that a teacher who doesn't have a good accent is not a good teacher.
Okay.
But I believe that it might not be actually the case. I had to do this because I started at an early age. I had to prove myself somehow to the students. So they had to trust for example, oh, he has a good accent, so all right, we should
Hmm.
trust him. But I don't think that accents are really that important when it
Okay.
comes to communication. Really matters a lot because one of the mistakes that people make in my country is that they say speak, not speak. You know, that's something that
Hmm.
is very important. But accent, if you want to, the suggestion that I actually have for all my students about accent is that you want to make your accent, you want to improve your accent, watch a lot of movies, repeat, listen to a lot of songs, repeat
Hmm.
with them, read the lyrics. I actually practice with Eminem, you know,
All
that's
right.
how I, yes, and that,
Well,
just practice.
I think that's interesting as well, because I hear from lots of students who say, "Oh, should I do this? Should I listen to this?" And I always say, listen to something you find interesting. And they say, "Oh, should I read Harry Potter?" Well, if you like Harry Potter, yes, you should read it. If you don't like it, and it is, especially the first couple of books are real children's books. So if that's not your thing, don't read it. So, if you're into rap music, listen to rap music. If you're into
Exactly.
engineering podcasts, listen to engineering podcasts. So that's quite a good thing. And also, I think you make a good point about accents, because I mean, just look in the English speaking world, someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger has been in America for 50 years, I think, and he still sounds like he's from Austria. But everyone loves him.
Exactly.
Everyone speaks to him. He's done everything. He worked in politics. He worked in film. He was the highest earning film movie star for years. So people do things. People love Penelope Cruz's accent when she speaks English, or
Exactly.
Guillermo del Toro or somebody. So sometimes it can be good. I think the biggest thing is confidence, of course. Now,
Exactly.
one of the things I really wanted to speak to you about is language exams. So why don't you take a minute and just explain some of the different language exams out there, because it can be a little bit confusing to students, the IELTS, the TOEFL, the CAE. I think they're probably the biggest three.
Mm.
Talk to us a little bit about those. What's the difference between them? Which ones are better for which objectives that a
Mm.
student might have?
Well, there are so many exams these days. I mean, GRE, TOEFL,
Mm-hmm.
IELTS,
Mm-hmm.
and CAE, as you mentioned. Uh, Specific purpose, like GRE is for students who want to study mathematics. I don't know,
Right.
other fields that are more technical,
Mm-hmm.
like computer sciences. But TOEFL and IELTS are the most popular ones because they are, of course, really great exams. I mean, they are really reliable, and well, it depends on on the student's purpose, like where they want to apply for. I mean, if they want to apply for an American university, in the past it used to be TOEFL for them, but
Mm-hmm.
now there's not really a difference. For example, if you have taken an IELTS exam and scored about 7, your TOEFL equivalent would be probably 90, 95. So they
Mm-hmm.
can set the scores these days. But the most important actually difference is the format of the test. Like IELTS exam, uh, at least in my country, I'm not sure about other countries. In Iran, IELTS exam is usually suggested to students who are more comfortable talking to a person and more comfortable working with papers. But TOEFL exam
Right.
is internet based. They have to work with a computer. They hear a beep, they talk, and then when the beep is gone, they stop talking. So that's really for people who are more comfortable with formulae. People who have a mathematical brain, mind.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot work with people. They are less comfortable with people. But for myself, for me, it was IELTS exam. That was what I was comfortable with.
I really agree with you because especially in the speaking section of the IELTS, it can be about anything. So if you're confident, if you're quite creative, if you can just talk with 1 minute preparation and go with something, the IELTS is the better one for you. The TOEFL, it's more methodological, where all the speaking, especially in the speaking, it's almost the same format, the question one, the question two, the question three. So if you're more mathematical, analytical, like you said, Farzad, I think that the TOEFL would be a bit of a better one. Now, I work with a lot of students who are taking things like the IELTS, especially if they want to go and get a visa for Canada or some of these other countries. And I think a challenge for a lot of people is to get from that maybe 6.5 up to a 7.5. So what tips
Exactly.
would you have for any of those students? What should they be working on? What should they be focusing on?
Well, one of the biggest pitfalls for these kinds of students is that they just keep studying new vocabulary.
Mm,
They keep trying to add some new structures like different tenses, using different tenses, maybe conditional sentences in their speaking and in their writing, which I believe writing is the most difficult one, I guess, because in so doing, they overlook the most important thing, which is developing their ideas, like the way that they are thinking. First of all, you bring an idea, then you support it with detail and some
hmm
examples if needed. Uh, what they usually overlook is this part. I mean, they don't pay attention to it. What is the most important one? And most of the students don't know anything about band description, or if in TOEFL's case, rubrics. They don't know anything about these things. They don't read the descriptions. They don't know what each actually factor means. For example, in IELTS exam, we have lexical resources, grammatical range and accuracy, coherence and cohesion, and task achievement. They only focus on lexical resources and only one aspect of it. New vocabulary items is very good, but idiomatic language, that's one important part. Collocations, awareness of style, they don't pay attention to these things. So what I suggest these students to do is that they just need to read more successful samples and
hmm
analyze the sentences, the structure of the essay or the speakings. Watch a lot of samples who have scored above that and see that they are not using a magical formula for this. They are only talking and only answering the questions. Just read the question and answer them without using any templates, which is very popular in Iran because most of the students are prefer to memorize a template and then try to use that template in any situation that they see fit.
And also, it's so clear when somebody is using some templates in their head
It
to
is,
answer a
really.
question, especially from a language teacher or an examiner's point of view. Yeah, you're absolutely right on that. So yeah, I really think idioms are quite important. Phrasal verbs, guys. I know I plug this all the time, but if you've not already gone on my YouTube, you can find the link of that in my bio on my page. You should definitely go on it because every couple of days there's a new idiom, like a useful idiom, and some phrasal verbs and a little bit of other stuff as well. So really, you should be having a look at that. I also, Fazad, wanted to talk about your Instagram page because I always find it interesting as to why people decide to make an Instagram page. And actually, anybody who's not making content and making posts, it's actually like loads of work. Before I started it, I used to think, oh, these Instagrammers, they get paid like millions for doing nothing. And the reality is you do loads of work and you get paid nothing for it. Well, at this moment. Anyway, so I always find it interesting as to why people put in the effort before that. So probably to answer the question myself, one of the reasons is I think it really makes a good connection with my students so that maybe they stay longer for lessons and take some extra lessons and they've got some other things during the week when they're not seeing me. And also, I think it really helps when I have a new prospective student because they send me a message, they ask about my teaching style, and I can say, hey, have a check on this, go on the Instagram, go on the YouTube. It just adds to that professionalism, I think. So that's one of the reasons I do it. And it's fun as well. I think part of it is just my gift to the world, is trying to give some free English advice to people. We should all try and do a little bit to help everybody out. What's your motivation for your Instagram page and all the great work, guys? If you're not already following Farzad, we'll put his username in the description on this video. You should definitely follow him because he's got some great stuff, and he's probably better at things like the language exams than most native teachers, probably me as well, because he's gone through it and he does it all the time, and I don't do it so often. I'm more of a business English teacher. So yeah, tell everybody what they can expect from you.
Sure, yeah, first, so thanks, yeah. The reason why I started this was my personal page, actually. I used to post personal stuff like food and whatever you expect from an Instagram page. But,
gym selfies and things.
yeah, exactly. And after a while, I thought that maybe I can keep in touch with my students, because some of my best friends are my students, actually, used to be my students, where like I thought, well, why not? So I should keep in touch with them. Maybe they want to study later. Maybe they want to, they need help. Maybe they want to become teachers. So I started posting some posts that are more related to English. And as time passed by, I thought that maybe I should turn this into a professional page, only posting educational stuff. The feedback that I got from my students, thanking me every day for all the materials. Some students who didn't have the equipment, I mean, could not attend classes. They were in touch with me through Instagram, reviewing the material. So I thought, yeah, I'm helping them. So I haven't, yeah, of course, I earned some money, some small, tiny little bit of money through Instagram.
You're making it.
Yeah, but it's not really the main reason. The main reason is helping the students. I really love it, and they give you the energy. Like, you have helped me, and I appreciate that. I really love it.
That's great. That's a really cool thing. I think another reason I wanted to start doing, because I mainly do videos on Instagram, is because I really think a lot of teachers, they teach grammar in the wrong way, and they teach it in such a long way. And I really wanted to explain to people, hey, you don't have to learn you don't have to watch these 20-minute, 30-minute videos that are teaching you how something works. You just need a quick explanation, a couple of examples that are real life examples, and then try it and use it. So that's something I try and do on my page. I also wanted to bring you on because I wanted to talk about Iran and Tehran a little bit. Such a beautiful city. Like, you see, guys, if you've never like seen a cityscape of Tehran, it looks unbelievable. It's like the city, and then in the background you have these beautiful mountains. Tell us a little bit about the city.
Well, of course, it's a very beautiful city. The weather is great. So many places to see, actually, to visit. Such a beautiful city, but so much restriction.
Like what can you visit? Because I mean, one of the great things about speaking to someone like you is you can really tell everybody what it's like, because, you know, if you live in France or you live in Britain, like I live and have lived, you know, they're not talking about the beautiful tourist sites of Iran. Usually they're talking about it in maybe a more negative way. So please put the record straight.
Well, really, if I, you know, I would talk about that too, but there are some beautiful things here. Like,
right, yeah.
Like, there are so many places. Like, I forget everything now. One thing is there are some parks in Tehran. I'm not sure about if they exist in other countries. There are some parks. They include all kinds of animals, like free. I mean, like foxes and maybe sometimes bears as well. I didn't even know they existed, but yeah, you can go in there and you can camp. Really beautiful, but unfortunately, because of all this situation, I mean, everything, the political and financial and stuff, people are under a lot of pressure, and all the negative things that you hear in other countries, it's mostly a result of these, mostly political. That's why people are so depressed now. People used to be happy here. Every day you see that everything is getting more expensive. Your currency is losing the value, and that really leaves little spot for happiness. And people don't try to actually explore Tehran because it's all right. So uh, not worth it, you know. That's the
Right.
reason why you don't hear much about how beautiful Tehran is, but it is really beautiful.
Now, I've traveled to quite a few places where you would maybe have a certain image of the place and the people based on, this is why I always try and find different sources of news. If you're, never just get news from your uncle off Facebook, try and find different sources. Because I've been to quite a few places around the world where you would maybe go there with a certain image, and then the reality is just completely different from that image, where the people are nice and friendly and really open to people. Tell me about, and I think most of us understand that the actions of any government are not the same as what the people are like. Yeah, I think that's the same in every country, right? Tell me about Iranian people.
Iranian people they are really kind. I remember
Mhm.
that one time there was this Chinese guy in the subway, and he wanted to get somewhere. He didn't know how to go that way, and people were trying to help him without knowing the language. And it was such a funny picture. Like I was looking at them, and the guy was confused, and he was a little bit scared because all the Iranian people were following him with good intent, of course, but
Right.
he was really scared. So I stood up and talked to him, and he said, "I love the people here, but I sometimes get scared. Why are they following me?" I said, "They want to help you, but they don't know how."
I think
Uh,
sometimes it's just a seriousness. Like people from Iran are going, no, you have to go here. You have to go here. So
yeah,
I'm
that's
not
really,
surprised he was scared.
and some of the not some of my all of my students say that I look really strict because I don't
Right.
know, I look scary. But when they do my classes, they see that I'm not that scary, you know, and that happens a lot. But
Well, that's maybe
people in
good as a
Tehran,
teacher, though. You can control the class quite well. I think sometimes in my classes, people are like, "Oh, Richard's cool, so we can just relax." No, you can't relax.
you cannot relax. I mean, I sometimes mess with my students on the first session. I go to the class and I'm like, all right, I'm very strict. If you join late, I will punish you. I will hit you. And they're really scared. And I say, all right, I was joking, and that's really fun. But
Or
yeah,
was
people here
I?
too.
I'm not sure.
Or was I? Exactly. Yeah. And we do care about our food here. I mean, we love our
Okay.
food. We eat a lot of food. I mean, doesn't matter. Like once I was watching this bodybuilder. He had like 3 spoons of rice
Mhm.
and a little bit of steak, and he was saying, "I'm eating big, so I can get big." I was like, "Dude, I eat it for a breakfast in Tehran, and people do it every day."
This is
So
a big
food is
thing, though, bodybuilding, right? I watched a documentary on it once, and like bodybuilding in Iran's like a kind of huge thing, and weightlifting, right?
yeah. Wrestling, anything that is
Uh-huh.
physical, you know, any physical, really physical sports. Like people are really angry here, so these sports help them actually, you know, let off some steam.
Okay.
And people use a lot. I mean, they know food supplements, and
Right.
drugs and stuff. I mean, like steroids, and they
Mhm.
know them really well, and they don't take anything, and they are mostly natural. But yeah, it is a real. It is something that everybody loves,
Do you
especially
know much
wrestling.
about supplements and things, proteins and
Oh yeah,
creatine?
I'm actually about 3 4 months ago. I decided that I really love bodybuilding.
Yeah,
I've
okay.
been and that I should take this course. There was this course online uh, about how to be a good personal trainer
Hmm.
from I guess it was from Austria. So I took the course and I learned a lot about supplements, food supplements and stuff. And I thought that yeah, food supplements are really good. I mean,
That's
Not
cool.
necessarily.
Because I was looking for somebody for a future episode to talk about food supplements. I'll get you back in a few weeks and we'll talk about that in a bit more detail because that's really interesting. One thing I was reading about Tehran is it's a beautiful city, but the air quality is terrible. Is this right?
Yeah, it is. It is. It is getting better because many people are staying at home, like
Okay.
working
Yeah.
from home, and that helps a lot. I mean, schools and stuff, they're all online now. Nobody goes
Mhm.
out of their houses, but in like generally, yeah, it is bad, especially in the beginning of the autumn and the beginning of summer. But the weather in spring, I mean, is perfect. Like the second month of spring, like in
Mhm.
Iran, we call it Divehesh. And that's like the best weather, and it's like heaven on earth, man. I mean, there's this really pleasant breeze, a little bit of rain. The smell is great, and but yeah, sometimes it gets really, really polluted.
And what's the public transport system like? How many people live in Iran? Like 9, 10 million people, is that right?
In Iran, about 90
Oh no,
million
sorry.
people, 80,
In
80,
in
80 million
Tehran, yeah.
people. In
Yeah,
Tehran, about, I guess, nine, I guess you were correct, but the
right.
public transportation sucks, man.
Oh,
Um,
really?
in the subway, like there are like maybe thousands of people. Uh, it's getting better every day because people
Uh-huh.
are learning how to respect each other. I mean, when these things were new in Iran, it was a nightmare. But now it's getting better. People are actually making an effort uh, to improve themselves through learning. They're with all the courses, online courses, they're learning new stuff, and they're trying to get better, to be better people, to improve their taste in music, for example. I'm not sure if you have heard about this in Iran. It sucked until last year, and people are starting to listen to better music as well. I mean, people are getting better.
Well, I
They
was
are
going to
making
ask because we talk about online study and you've just mentioned kind of access to greater music. Talk to me a little bit about internet restrictions in Iran. How does
yeah.
that work?
Internet restrictions. I mean, it's been about maybe 10 years that we have access to fast, really high-speed internet.
Mhm.
And the websites like Facebook, maybe uh, there's so many, Twitter, for example, they're all filtered. We cannot have
Right.
access to them. Udemy is filtered, and Payoneer is filtered.
Okay.
And because of all the sanctions, we cannot receive our incomes from other countries. Like I teach
What about
people.
PayPal?
Exactly, we cannot have an account. We cannot have a PayPal account,
So you can't
and
teach online because a lot of these websites like,
exactly.
italki or Preply that they pay on PayPal or Payoneer.
And the problem is, let me give me a minute. I need to charge my phone because.
Oh, yeah, go do it. Yeah, that's important.
All right, I guess it's fine now because it was gonna go off.
Mhm.
So yeah, the problem is that uh, I have a course on Udemy. It had bad quality, of course. I admit, but it did sell some good deal, and I got some good deal of money from it. But in order to receive the income, I had to ask my friend in Germany
Right.
to actually register my account under his address so that I can
Mhm.
receive um, uh, the card, the Mastercard, on his address, so that he can send me the card, and so that it was a really long process, long story, but people find ways. We have VPN and proxies for
Mhm.
anything that they filter, but it makes everything difficult, more difficult for us.
Okay. Oh, we've just had a clarification. 8.694 million people live in
Yeah,
Iran. Thank you.
that's one student that I had, like a really naughty little
All
creature.
right.
Yeah. Um,
Well,
but I really,
he or she did a good job there.
yeah, and I really love one thing about my students in Iran. Uh, they are first, they're not motivated, but when they see the teacher is actually their friends,
Mhm.
uh, they they change so much. I am still in touch with students from like maybe 10 years ago. Actually, the first class that I had, there was one student, he became a teacher after my class, and he was like 13 back then, I guess.
Hmm.
They trust you like you are like a big brother to them, you know. This is something in Iran, at least, I'm feeling it. Students don't trust you, but when they do, they will trust you forever.
That sounds great. It really sounds like you're in the job for you, something that suits your personality and your skills. And I think that's the goal for anybody. It's, we talk about nowadays about finding a job you love. Okay, it's important, but I think something that's even more important is find a job that corresponds with your skills and what you can be good at. Because if you're good at something, you'll enjoy it, I think. So that's really great. All right, last question, because I'm going to have to go in a minute. People who are going to go and follow you, because we're going to put your username in the chat, what can they expect from you in the upcoming weeks and months when they follow your page?
I have decided to post more, actually post about specific exams. I have recorded some material with my students and co-workers, not really help. They are all busy, I know. But my students are helping me in preparing some material for students who want to take IELTS exam, TOEFL exam, different material. I have recorded them. So what they can expect is more information about each exam and some small fun material, just like the one that I posted today about different types of headaches for ESL
Yeah, it was a
teachers.
funny one. I like that one.
Yeah, and it happens a lot. I mean, there were common mistakes in Iran. Like I am agree. I told my students whenever a student says I am agree, an ESL teacher somewhere in the world dies because of a heart attack. So that's something
French students do it all the time as well. Yeah, part of my heart breaks when I hear it.
Yeah, and so that's what they may expect from my page.
All right, so everybody, make sure you go and follow Farzad because he's doing a great job and he can give some great tips about exam preparation, language learning. As you've seen, he has an awesome accent when he's speaking in English as well, so you're definitely going to learn some tips from him. Farzad, I'm going to get you back in a few weeks because I want to talk a little bit about some of these supplements, how everybody can get ripped, because health is so important nowadays. We talk about this virus and, being healthy is such an important thing. So we're going to get some great tips from you. Does that sound good?
Yeah, great. That would be great. Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, Farzad. Thanks, everybody, for watching live and watching a little bit later. I will personally be back next week with another live. I've not decided who yet, but I will find somebody interesting for it. I've got a couple of ideas. And Farzad, I will speak to you soon, okay?
Have a good one, man. Thanks. That was
Thanks
great.
very much, everyone. Bye.
Have fun.